During the 1960s, Bob Crane seemed to embody the ultimate success story that many actors spent their entire careers chasing. He carried himself with a vibrant, welcoming smile and possessed a sharp, almost effortless sense of humor that made him instantly likable. Audiences across America came to adore him for his role as Colonel Robert Hogan in the widely popular sitcom Hogan's Heroes. In that role, he portrayed a clever, confident, and endlessly resourceful leader who could think his way out of even the most impossible situations. Viewers saw him as the perfect blend of charm and intelligence, a quick-thinking officer who always had a plan in motion, who could ease tension with humor, and who delivered witty lines with natural ease. Away from the spotlight, Crane's personality appeared no less captivating. Those who met him often described a man who radiated warmth, whose relaxed and friendly nature made people feel comfortable almost instantly. His humor was not just for the screen, it was a part of who he was. Whether through a light-hearted comment or a cleverly timed sarcastic remark, he had an uncanny ability to lift the mood in any room he entered. People were drawn to him not only because of his fame, but because of his genuine, approachable demeanor. However, beneath this polished and cheerful exterior, a very different reality was taking shape. While audiences laughed at his performances and admired his on-screen brilliance, his personal life was gradually unraveling in ways that few could have imagined. What began as a career defined by charm, success, and widespread admiration slowly became overshadowed by secrecy, controversy, and troubling behavior. Eventually, his story would take a dark and tragic turn, ending in a violent death that left investigators with more questions than answers. That unresolved mystery would linger for decades, casting a long and haunting shadow over Hollywood and those who once knew him. Before he ever became a familiar face on television, Crane had already built a name for himself in the world of radio. His rise to fame did not begin in front of a camera, but behind a microphone. In Los Angeles, he became widely known as a dominant force on the airwaves, earning a reputation that set him apart from others in the industry. He was often referred to as the man of 1,000 voices, a title that reflected his incredible versatility and vocal talent. Hosting a popular morning show on KNX radio, he quickly gained a loyal audience who tuned in not just for entertainment, but for the experience he created. Crane's ability to improvise and his natural command of language allowed him to engage with guests in a way that felt both spontaneous and genuine. He had a rare gift for conversation, one that enabled him to interact seamlessly with some of the biggest names of the time. Celebrities such as Marilyn Monroe, Bob Hope, and Charlton Heston were among those who appeared on his program and found themselves charmed by his humor and quick thinking. Listeners often felt as though they were being let in on private, behind-the-scenes moments with these stars, as if they were part of an exclusive conversation. Even Walt Disney reportedly admired Crane's wit, referring to him as one of the quickest minds in the business. In an industry where timing and personality could make or break a career, Crane possessed both in abundance. It was only natural that his success in radio would eventually lead to opportunities in television. His talent and growing popularity did not go unnoticed, and before long, Hollywood came calling. In 1961, while still focused on his radio career, Crane invited the well-known television writer Carl Reiner to appear on his show. That encounter turned out to be more significant than anyone could have predicted. Impressed by Crane's presence and ability, Reiner later offered him a guest role on The Dick Van Dyke Show. In that appearance, Crane played a man involved in infidelity, a relatively small role, but one that would prove to be a turning point. That single opportunity opened doors that had previously seemed out of reach. It marked the beginning of his transition from radio personality to television actor, setting him on a new path that would soon bring him national fame. Not long after, he secured a recurring role on The Donna Reed Show, where he portrayed a cheerful and likable dentist. His performance once again highlighted his natural comedic timing and his ability to connect with audiences, further solidifying his place in the entertainment industry. The year 1965 became a defining moment in Crane's life. It was during this time that his agent introduced him to a script for a new project titled Hogan's Heroes. At first glance, Crane misunderstood the concept, assuming it was intended to be a traditional war film. In reality, the project was something quite different, a sitcom set during World War II, focusing on a German prisoner of war camp. The premise struck many as unusual, even controversial, and there were doubts about whether such a concept would resonate with audiences. Despite those uncertainties, Crane accepted the role of Colonel Hogan, and from the moment he stepped into the character, it became clear that he was perfectly suited for it. He brought to the role a unique combination of intelligence, charm, and humor, portraying a leader who was always one step ahead of his captors. Week after week, viewers tuned in to watch Hogan outsmart his enemies, turning dangerous situations into opportunities for clever victories. Against all expectations, the show became a massive success. Hogan's Heroes ran for 6 years, from 1965 to 1971, and during that time, Crane became one of the most recognizable faces on television. His performance earned him 2 Emmy nominations, and his popularity extended far beyond the screen. His image appeared on a wide range of merchandise, including billboards, lunchboxes, and magazine covers. He was no longer just a performer. He had become a cultural icon. Audiences admired him for portraying a character who remained calm under pressure, who always seemed to have a solution ready, and who approached even the most serious challenges with confidence and humor. Yet even as his professional success reached new heights, subtle changes were taking place in his personal life. Those closest to him began to notice shifts in his behavior. There was a growing restlessness, a desire for excitement that seemed to intensify over time. While he continued to present a composed and charming image to the public, hints of deeper issues began to surface behind closed doors. What few realized at the time was that Crane was beginning to live a double life, one that would eventually have serious consequences. By the mid-1960s, what had once been a simple interest in photography started to evolve into something far more consuming. Initially, it was nothing more than a hobby. Crane enjoyed experimenting with cameras, capturing images, and exploring new video technology. However, as time went on, this interest took on a more troubling dimension. It became less about creativity and more about compulsion. A significant turning point came when he met John Henry Carpenter, a man who sold video equipment for Sony. Carpenter introduced Crane to advanced recording technology and quickly became a regular presence in his life. The two formed a close bond, spending time together both professionally and socially. They frequented nightclubs and bars, often using Crane's celebrity status to attract attention and meet women. Carpenter played a key role in facilitating Crane's growing obsession, helping him set up recording equipment and encouraging behaviors that would soon spiral out of control. What began as experimentation soon developed into a pattern. Recording intimate encounters became a regular part of Crane's private life, something that consumed more and more of his attention. This shift began to affect other areas of his life, particularly his career. Colleagues noticed that he was becoming increasingly distracted, less focused on his work, and more preoccupied with his personal activities. The impact on his personal relationships was equally significant. His first marriage, to his high school sweetheart in Terzian, came to an end after more than 2 decades. Together, they had built a family and raised 3 children, but the strain caused by his secret life and growing obsessions proved too much to overcome. Following the divorce, Crane married Patricia Olson, who was also known to fans of Hogan's Heroes as actress Sigrid Valdis. Unfortunately, the same issues that had affected his first marriage continued to persist, creating tension and instability in his second relationship. Even his professional reputation began to suffer. During the production of Disney's 1973 film Superdad, concerns were raised about his behavior on set. Executives and colleagues began to question his reliability, and rumors about his personal life started to circulate more widely within the industry. The image of the clean-cut, dependable star was slowly being replaced by whispers of controversy and concern. As the 1970s progressed, Crane's career began to lose momentum. While he remained a recognizable figure, the steady stream of television roles that had once defined his success began to dwindle. In response, he turned to stage work, performing in dinner theaters and regional productions. These roles allowed him to continue working, but they did not carry the same level of visibility or prestige as his earlier television success. Publicly, Crane maintained the appearance of someone working to rebuild and redefine his life. He spoke of new opportunities and seemed determined to regain control of his career. Privately, however, he confided in friends about his desire to make more profound changes. He expressed a wish to distance himself from Carpenter and to leave behind the habits that had contributed to his decline. He wanted a fresh start, a chance to begin again. In June 1978, Crane found himself in Scottsdale, Arizona, where he was performing in a stage comedy titled Beginner's Luck at the Windmill Dinner Theater. With his 50th birthday just 2 weeks away, he appeared to be on the verge of a new chapter. Those around him recalled conversations in which he spoke about ending his marriage to Patricia and cutting ties with Carpenter. There was a sense that he was ready to move forward and create a different future for himself. Tragically, that future would never come to pass. On June 29, 1978, events took a devastating turn. After Crane failed to show up for a scheduled lunch, his co-star Victoria Berry went to his apartment to check on him. What she discovered was horrifying. Crane was found dead in his bed, having suffered a brutal beating. The severity of his injuries suggested a violent struggle, and investigators believed that a camera tripod may have been used as the weapon. An electrical cord was also found nearby, though it was determined not to be the cause of death. What made the case even more puzzling was the condition of the scene. There were no signs of forced entry, and nothing appeared to have been stolen. This indicated that the person responsible may have been someone Crane knew and trusted, or someone who had managed to enter without detection. Suspicion quickly focused on John Carpenter, whose connection to Crane and presence in the area raised serious questions. Carpenter had been in Phoenix just days before the murder and had reportedly spent time with Crane on the night of his death. Some accounts suggested that the two had listened to recorded tapes together that evening. Carpenter claimed that he had left afterward and returned to his motel, but witness statements later contradicted parts of his account. Further complicating matters, investigators found traces of blood in Carpenter's rental car that matched Crane's blood type. Despite these suspicions, the case faced significant challenges. At the time, DNA testing was not available, and blood typing alone could not conclusively link Carpenter to the crime. Without a definitive murder weapon, and with a crime scene that lacked clear evidence, prosecutors chose not to file charges. The investigation stalled, leaving the case unresolved and adding to the mystery surrounding Crane's death. Even within Hollywood, his legacy became complicated. Although his funeral was attended by around 200 people, including well-known figures such as Patty Duke and Carol O'Connor, his presence in the entertainment world gradually faded. Reruns of Hogan's Heroes became less prominent, and his name was no longer celebrated in the same way it once had been. His children struggled to protect his memory, particularly when new portrayals of his life emerged. They opposed projects like the 2002 film Autofocus, which they believed exaggerated and sensationalized his story. Scotty Crane took an active role in defending his father, even creating a website to challenge what he saw as misleading narratives presented by the media. In the years that followed, there were continued attempts to revisit the case and uncover the truth behind his death. Despite these efforts, the mystery remains unsolved. Bob Crane's story stands as a complex and haunting reminder of how fame, personal choices, and unanswered questions can intertwine, leaving behind a legacy that is as tragic as it is unforgettable.